There are times where you just go through something, you're like, but why me? People are praying and I'm just there. Why is my life stagnant? I'm growing up. So what happened was Tato leaves the house with a gun. So I asked him, what are you doing? That moment, it made it to my head that this is what's gonna happen. So the next thing I heard was a gunshot. 2. But the next thing when I woke up, like paying the ambulance. I'm just not sure what's going on. And everybody's just there. People, and I just kept seeing my mother yelling. She's wiping the wall. And that's when I just knew. I just witnessed something I don't know.
Thank you for, I like the way you're giggling from the get-go. It's because like, what we're just about to go into, it's not that deep. It's not that deep, but I don't even know why I'm diagnosing you, but like, I'm literally just sitting here and thinking this is a story of chronic grief, because I cannot imagine how it can be anything but that, because having to go over that kind of grief over and over and over. But I think the beauty about your story is that there's a silver lining ultimately, and then you have something that then gave you reason to keep pushing. And there's a story that we're just about to unpack. Thank you for doing this. Thank you so much for joining me here for Gaona Live Conversations. So your name is Dallutah. Very unique name. And I'm so sorry, like you mentioned off air, I instantly got your email and I thought it's a man. So I said to my producer, please call this guy and, find out what his story is. Meanwhile, you're related.
It's a young lady.
Tell me about the name. It's so unique.
Dallutah is a combination of my late parents' names. I think my parents were bougie. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's combined from Daniel Litzebogo Lawrence, which happens to be my dad. And my mom was typed Lucretia, so they worked together to put up a name, and that's it. Yeah,
just like that. Did you get people asking you what it means?
All the time, and I was so lost because I don't know. I got to know it after 15, and I was like, okay, so get my hair.
You know what I mean?
On Facebook, I used to check up for I make a one.
Have you come across any other Dallutah?
Lately, yes, but I know what mine means and how mine came about. So, of course,
yeah.
But on Facebook, I don't know how legit it is.
It could be some who came across your name and like, oh, I like this. Whatever it means, I love it.
I love it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if it's legit, but yeah, but the
wow. So just take me back to your childhood. You know what I mean? Like, what did that look like? Where did you grow up? Where were you raised? You're talking about your parents. Like, you seem to have been a product of love. Like, for your parents to have actually said, you know what I mean? So yeah, tell me a little bit about your upbringing in those very early years.
In the early years, my memories are not very clear because I was so young before I lost my dad. Prior to that, I remember quite a beautiful setting because my father then, so every Sunday, Papa na so he would wear these shoes, steady black and white, the crooked and Jones side kind of.
Yeah.
What those like what the men do. So my mother was always super slow. So like so everybody knew that Sundays meant church, and that's the kind of setting we had. So growing up, we were raised. Yeah. So
and were you aware of God and, who was God to you? Or was it just like an abstract concept? And there's God, but knowing about
God, this is what would happen. Mama le papa Daddy, mommy, I had myself. Should we pray about it? Would pray about it. Each and every person would say a prayer from their heart. As a family, and would do that in our parents' room. So growing up, I've known that if I'm hurting, God will fix it. Mama na rutile gore ha o tsamaya, you can just talk to God. Mo sephiring sa gago, a mo kebong, a mo mmolong, a ka just say, Lord, o itse keletso tsa ka. Kopa o nkatle. Kana phakela o tsoga, you don't have to pray in words. You can say, Lord, thank you. So that's just how we grew up. Ha re gola re itse gore go a rapelwa tota. Sengwe le sengwe go a rapelwa. Ha o emelela o tsena mo koleng wa rapela. Ha le gore ga le leboga mosepele. So that's the kind of setting we've always had re le banyane.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I know perhaps about your childhood, it may be too soon for me to be asking this question, but like you're saying, what you knew is God fixes everything. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter, how small or big it is. I just give it to God and God fixes it. Was that your reality? Is that something that you would say you actually experienced? You knew God would miraculously take the pain away. Whatever discomfort, God just took it away. Was that what you were actually experiencing?
It hasn't always been the case, because there are times where you just go through something, you're like, but why me? People are praying and I'm just there. Why is my life stagnant? I'm growing up. But because I was a child then and I knew God fixes everything, in my head, but now when you grow up, you get to realize, no, it actually doesn't happen. It actually takes time. When you're going through something, it kind of like pauses. Why now? Why was I Arabi? But then I got to know
absolutely.
God puts you through a phase where you enjoy. Because what if you're 20 million and you haven't enjoyed, you're going to misuse the money because you don't know what it's like not to have.
That's
right?
it. That's
so I've learned that you hurt, but then it's done. That's just how I see things now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we'll unpack your relationship with God or your spirituality, I think, throughout our conversation. But at 8, you experienced, loss in a very tragic manner. I want you to take us back there. What happened when you were 8? And how were you then able to even comprehend what was going on? So just take me back there.
If I remember so well, no, already 3 December, the exact date today, for some reason. So Pakalan, and my brother had gone to Pakalan for prize giving.
So you had an older
brother.
Okay.
So Tata was not one of the smartest kids, but Papa Mamba Misa Skulungo. So how about it was a big deal. So Ritle Pakalan when how to say. So I was like, Buti, but next year I'll do it. He's like, no way. So Buria Hai. My grandmother's there. Is there, sorry. My father, my mom, and my uncle. No, and my brother just switched. I became a shoe police. I did that. But so what happened was Tata leaves the house with a gun. So I asked him, what are you doing? We ran. The child that I was, and I could see the distress in his face. It didn't mean anything then, but it's a sight I've never seen. And that moment, I don't think it got in. It made it to my head that this is what's gonna happen. So the next thing I heard was a gunshot. 2. Apparently, I passed out. Between the house and that. And but the next thing when I woke up, I'm just not sure what's going on. So I say to my grandmother, that's what I used to call him. My grandmother, and I could see Mama screaming, yelling. Time and time again. Papa he just set hats on the ground. Next door, he's also late. And everybody's just there. People, and I just kept seeing my mother yelling. She's wiping the wall. And that's when I just knew. I just witnessed something I don't know. So Hantere go bankanyediwa appeal. It was a Friday when Tato passed on. Me duke go tere go mmona go moshari. Papa was in agreement with that. Are dalu munyane. Ha se dutse ke batlang a di bona. Because ne ke utlwa ntse gote ha ise re mmaakanye. Ngwana ga ke mmona ntse Mama ba re no. It's a side she needs to see.
And of course, at that point, you can't even comprehend what Khaisir Makanyi means.
What it means. In good hope. And when I saw him, reality sank that this is what Tato did. But in a child's head, it's not that. You just wonder what I'm me. So years went by.
What did you see at that moment? I'm not really trying to torture you,
No,
but
it's okay.
You seeing it made you comprehend what happened. Like,
when Tato committed suicide, it's a bit uncomfortable to bear. But when he did, he sat on a red chair. That was my father's favorite chair. For some reason, he thought that was the idea, kind of the best chair to use. Abatsa, the gun, put it right in between his legs. Abaye bang, haseledung, and he just pulled the trigger. So I didn't see much, but that sound alone told me that. So he had that lebadi, like an open hole with clots of blood, and it was shocking to see. But that covered him. But then as years went by, I've learned about suicide, I've read about it, and I just knew whatever the reasons were, for him it was okay. But it wasn't something I would want on anyone. It was a painful sight to see, because as old as I am, the days where I have flashbacks and just sit and wonder, because I'm your little sister, you could have just thought of saying, you know, so that I don't get to enjoy that.
Yeah. Of course, you've spoken about years later, you now being able to comprehend it and make sense of what could have transpired or what could have gotten him there. But I want us to sit a little bit, in those years, right? You're only 8 and you just lost your brother, like I mentioned, in the most tragic manner, witnessing him taking his own life. How did this affect, first of all, you? Did it affect you in any way? Were you able to just snap out of it? Or is it something that stayed with you for a while? Were you able to sleep at night? So I really just want you to unpack that for us before we now get into the family itself, how the family was then affected as well.
I don't think at that moment it came off as traumatic. That's how I always say. When something happens when you're young, it doesn't haunt you that bad. It only does how it's all. And how I dealt with it, I think I didn't have the time to deal with it, because I now saw my father's health deteriorate from that. I was forced to go to boarding school because my mom was a housewife. So my mom was barely there. Papa now So everybody just moved on. But years later, I figured Mama didn't, because there were days where she said, that's how she used to use it. Then how it tends to be. So it's always something that I was constantly made to remember, even though I didn't want. How about what happened to because I didn't want to relive the moment. So yeah.
Would you say, perhaps in a subconscious way, you blocked it out?
Yeah, I want to believe so. Yeah.
At that point, I know, mental health and, dealing with mental health is something that is quite, modern. It's something that we're aware of right now, and we know what to do, or at least what to attempt to do to deal with such. Were there any steps that were taken by the family back then to, take you through therapy or take the family through therapy? Because kind of the loss, you plus, mom, dad, everyone else.
Yeah, I don't remember going through counseling. I just remember lying about it, because look like being because as much as I felt it was my secret to keep for some weird reason. I don't know why. I just felt I don't want to talk about it. So in terms of Mama and Papa dealing about it, I don't know because I was just moved to boarding school because now circumstances had changed. Papa na alwala, he couldn't provide anymore. Yanong wa go na le rakgadi, mama wa go thusa rakgadi. Rakgadi is a nurse, well, a retired nurse now. So everybody was just forced to just move on. Now focusing more papa nong kare mongwe le mongwe le beetse gore ka nako lapeng go iragetse.
And, something that you mentioned right now, and I think I want to unpack it a bit more, is you wanted to protect your brother. You're that young, but you want to protect your brother. What does that mean? What were you trying to protect your brother from? I'm just trying to figure out how, you were unraveling all of this, throughout those years. How I was trying to protect him.
Now looking back at it, to me it says, Lao man. So anything that I say he did, because that was the first death I'd enjoyed being. I'd lost a half brother before, but it didn't hurt like Tato's passing. You're gone, but people don't need to hate you anymore.
Yeah.
People don't need to snap at you anymore, because I remember everybody's trying to chew my mother alive, but for what? So I just felt I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. And I actually going to try and find out whether you ever tried to figure out what got him, to that place. Because like you're saying, he totally switched, and the look that you saw in his face was something you'd never seen before. Before then he, went on to take his life the way he did. So was that something that you ever tried to follow up? What could have transpired in that moment? Or did you just let it go?
No, actually, I got to learn kumarago, but I felt, now that I have a child, I felt it was a selfish reason. Tato had gone to Canada, and his intentions were living with a new girlfriend. But so you can't just do that. Do it the right way. And for some weird reason, he found it not fitting. And he just got agitated, and that's that.
Of course. And I think the thing about that we've come to learn now is, and you mentioned it, that it's something that you got to figure out, is the thing about mental health and people actually getting to a point of taking their lives is it's not, I snapped and I just decided. So chances are it was
something that was prolonging.
You know what I mean? Deep rooted. But of course, that is not really, the conversation today. And it's heavy that, you actually went through that. But now you're talking about, okay, before we even talk about dad not being well, would you say this changed the person you were in any way, especially in relation to you now as a student, as a friend, as a cousin, you know what I mean, as a young girl? Or were you able to maintain, because you just kept lying and saying, I don't remember seeing anything, you know what I mean? So did it change you in any way? Did it affect you to a point where you'd say it somehow changed you?
Yes and no, because from there, I was moved to Mulepol, different school, boarding school, a new life, a new fresh start. Nobody knows why I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's something I can deal with. I'd rather not know what happened. So throughout the years, I bottled it in, but I was able to share, but I avoided sharing more because I didn't want Gaona to like me because I've endured. I didn't want to be with a man and think he's with me because he pities me. So I just blocked myself from sharing quite a lot. Oh, I had a brother, he passed on in 2004, December. That's it. I won't tell you how because I don't want you to pity me for that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you talk about Papa now is not well. Things change because, he was the breadwinner, and now because Walala Khone. Take me back to that phase. Mama waka Papa, but in the same period, everyone is just grieving. It turns out Papa eventually also passed on. So I just want you to, just really just share that part now of your life, because you've already lost a brother.
No, I'm about to lose someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Tato passed in December, Papa passed in July.
Of the following year.
Emma. That was in 2005. Papa Nanzale Sokua Hela because of his age, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Papa, not to me, I didn't know. I remember one time at boarding school, around us. A car parks, my mom is there, but then she's with someone who looks way too sick. So like Papa is in a wheelchair, he's really sick. But thinking of it, they might have said but because you have a child, you've raised this child, and you couldn't have stopped what happened from happening. So Papa passed on from there, and everything just paused in my mother's life. For me, I didn't enjoy much because mothers provide, hey, got how to a certain lifestyle, bender, but not too much for you to continue having the same lifestyle. I remember there were times where Mama used to go to an extent where said because na every other December and she made it a point because that's a norm Papa had instilled in my baby. So yeah.
Now, you mentioned that Papa possibly felt like blamed himself. Do you think it was an actual thing?
Most probably.
Is that something that came up, or it's just you sort of analyzing and just saying, chances are, as a man, he kind of felt that he failed having lost his son like that?
I think so, but we've never talked about it. But I know that my mother sometimes used to say, and she carried the weight because she now started working, but she would stop working. Can I get a drop out from work? Because we feel like because setting ya so she should deprive herself of certain lifestyles for because I felt that that was her grieving. Now at that age, I've lost my brother, I've lost my father, but I'm numbing it up. I'm just shoving it at the back of my head. I don't know why, but I just felt that was my coping mechanism. Yeah.
So, you remember, of course, you just mentioned, that during after your brother's, death, you actually were taken to the
boarding school.
No, not boarding school, but go to the mortuary, yes, where you actually went to see him, right? What was the experience like, and this is now at 9, a year after you lost your brother. What did it feel like? What did now the second loss feel like? Or was it still you being a young person and being able to kind of block out, certain emotions and pain, not being able to comprehend maybe? Yeah.
I remember one time, my aunt, she's a Nesco Scottish, we went to joining. I was snuck in the hospital because he really wanted to see me. And I saw him, but he couldn't talk. And that alone, because Mama, something like Dalu, she liked saying that a lot. And when I saw him not talking, do you remember what I told you? I remember. It was a Wednesday, I think. Shortly after, I don't remember the exact date, my half siblings, my father was married before. My sister's husband's phone rings. The next thing I heard was my sister scream. I would rather not say her name. She looks at me, joining my elder brother comes. He shot to the morgue again. I don't remember many parts of it. Papa and there I was like, here we are again. But I don't know why, but I think it was because I had been told the debate. So you need to know Papa might come home, he might not come home. So yeah.
And throughout Lesu, how is
Not even.
Not even. Was it something that then hit you later on in life? Considering that, okay, now mama, or is it something that you were able to continue carrying, without necessarily crumbling at any point? This is like while mama sanzali tenyano khali setsana le babedi.
I don't think I've ever allowed myself to feel it because I thought somewhat way I needed to be strong for mama. My mother would never say, Kimiji. You just see her by Girimal and you just know she's probably going through it. So after Papa's passing, she used to cry a lot. From 5. She used to cry a lot in her sleep. And this was her prayer. So I felt I don't want her to know that I'm hurting. Because if she's hurting this much, then what if I'm hurting? I'm also going to hurt her. So I was just forced to just toughen up. Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. So now, Lisetsile Mama, how's your relationship with your mom? Are you ever able to, of course, here she is, so you're exposed to her grief. She cries, she prays about it. But is this loss, it's alona, both yaga tato le yaga papa, is this something that you're able to sit and talk about? Are you able to reminisce, about thing? What is, the process of grief, or how you processing grief now as a pay when Mama listens?
There were days we'd talk about the good moments, but not once has she sat down and talked about my brother's passing or Papa's passing. None. She would always stand on the good parts. She wore her ring till her last day because that's just how much I believe she loved her husband, my father. So I just feel she just never dealt with it. Now to say I blocked it to survive, and it worked for me then. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to when now it didn't work for you. But the thing about your story is that it's heavy because it doesn't end. We've lost Tato, your brother, in that very tragic manner now. Papa, eventually because he's carrying it. His health deteriorates. And now later on in life as well, Mama also passes on. Can I find out, perhaps before we even talk about Mama's passing, what was your relationship with death like? Is this something I may lose another person? Are you able to be in the moment and just love and be present without necessarily worrying about loss? You know what I mean? So, or is this something now that you're carrying? Hey, I just want to figure out how you navigated that.
I think it didn't scare me so much because Mama used to talk a lot about but just know it can happen. So she used to prepare me for her passing. So I've always thought later on, the time is going to come and you need to be ready. It might not be now, but you really need to prepare yourself because you've seen we've already lost. And there were losses in between, though they were not immediate. And when the more they happened, I just became numb. And there's nothing I can do about it.
That's it.
I just need to prepare myself for somebody else. So,
are you ever even imagining your own, exit in the process? But you're not necessarily saying, okay,
no, but it hurts, it shocks us, and I don't think of my passing because it scares me because I have someone looking up at me and saying, "Yeah, my mother,
right
please
now.
Don't die. Please." Then I pray, Mudim, please.
She's your reason to just keep going.
Yeah.
We're going to get to her, just now, but eventually you lose your mom as well. How did that come about? At what age are you now? Where are you, in this era you end up losing your mom?
Yeah. In 2013, exam. Some child from my home village in Thar. So I'm like, Mama, we didn't have phones for school. And so I had a teacher who was close
and you were
to
still
my
in
mom.
Boarding school, by the way. Okay.
This teacher, Mr. So-and-so, can I please call my mother? Why? She hasn't wished me good luck. This is me lying again because if I say I had this, he's going to be like, nope.
Yeah.
So I call her and she tells me she suffered a mini stroke. Ow. Ling ka Friday. It's Monday. You didn't find it fitting something yana. She's like, no, go do your best and God will do the rest. That was her. But Abatla Siama, she came back home. But every time she'd go in distress, she'd get sick. Just like that. So I became Bala from 5. I didn't do well. Yeah, it's because of the pressure that I'm carrying.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming it on what I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
So 2015, I was a waitress at Ramadana December. 2015 December, I go home. My mom is weak. That was her answer. I've always been woke. So no, my mom came back. On Monday, towards her passing, then we talk on Monday. I get a call from Marine. Hi, ke Dallutah Moncho. Ken, tabakala kwan. Urle. How to now talk about Dr. Swenso. Urle. And I'm panicking. Mama guy, she's fine. Takwan. Keeps her. What's happening? My manager and Tarno drop. He took me to Marina. My mom at she's not even talking. What happened? But she couldn't keep eye contact, and it's something I've always learned. They'll just shy away from looking at you, and I knew it's about to go down. Tuesday, I went to
and
see
she can't
her.
even talk at that.
She can't
moment,
talk.
yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, I came, my boy, the whole marine. On Wednesday, I come to see her, and she's like, Dalu, ma, and Tlapise. A tear dripped from her other eye. Thursday morning, I'm always an hour ahead. That day, the old lady sitting, who was laying next to her, she's like, let's batch in a mahabanas na kutswa. Bangisa guy. Hakit. So my heart starts racing. I'm getting all thoughts for what's going on. So ke botsa ngaka ke mara kere. Mme o na re betsa o ka ya bari. Ke tloga ke tswa mo shifting but like go attend. Bagolo ba kae? Why? Abike mara kere ha gona opo ka tlangkwana bari. Then I called my cousin's wife. She was under pharmaceutical Marina. She comes. That day, the office, that doctor, for some weird reason, found it fitting to just pull the file in front of my eyes, and it was written death file.
Oh, no.
I looked at him. He didn't even lateral me, and Monday, Tuesday, but yesterday she spoke to me. Mama, you promised me you are going to attend. I need to see my mother. Because I'm numb. So how about my other half brother is like, from where she was to the morgue, I don't know. I just know that I was crying. It's happening.
Yeah.
Apparently, I was screaming. The whole of Marina was stand still. And I kept screaming and screaming and screaming. There was a point I tried to rip up my shirt. And I cried so hard. My other aunt, Amanta, Dalu, pull yourself together. You need to toughen up. That moment, I just knew that I've been putting it at the back of my head. I'm going to do it again. I just toughened up. Phase 2 then. Oh, this is what happened. That very day, my Rangwane passed on in the morning. That very day, on Wednesday, little did you know she was going to pass on that very day in the evening.
As well, yeah.
So at that point, I'm just like, I'm not going to cry. I need go bitsa batho ke bone gore ke kgobokanya yang because mama towards her passing na hantsa ala ela gore ke nane yana le yana ira yana le yana letsa semama le semama just like that gora re bera ga on Tuesday ha re tsana go gae now reality is sinking in gore oh my god go matlotla there's no one and this is it and mama go said to me puta do tsa ga ausu di be sentle and I can't even cry puta ya I'm just forced to tell people gore tshwarangkwa iranyana and yeah
How old are you at that stage?
I was 18 yeah
and you have this mammoth task now to you know
and throughout the whole proceedings it was hard because parents bagolo how hetole bagolo how arabisane le bagolo and people are doing things that you don't want but you want to give your mother a proper send off and somewhat way I had a good side on my hand and we are able to do that yeah
so this whole week now you have we gather really be strong, you know, because you need to. So are you crying? Are you, you know, breaking down? Are you even allowing yourself to feel, to be in the moment?
The first week, so Rangwan was buried that very week. Mama's buried the following week. And now it's 2 weeks of hard work. I didn't cry. I couldn't sleep, but I could work. There was a point where still I couldn't cry. Like I remember how I sang, how numb I was during the funeral. I just never let myself feel.
Did you talk about her? Like, did you?
I wrote a note. I stood in front of people. I got a chokehold a bit, but I didn't cry because
in retrospect, do you feel, you know, that was the best way to deal with that, you know, period, or do you wish you had cried?
Part of me wishes I would have felt. Maybe not cried, but felt. Because the day it came after that, I cried for days. I would see my mother's image in my eyes and I would cry. There was a time I had good news to share and I dialed her number. It rang on my other hand and that's when it sank or it snapped.
And how long after her passing is this?
I think a couple of months from there. Yeah. I even had to move nothing because everything that belonged to her heart was there. Really had so many memories because phase 2, but this were her last days. And I just couldn't stomach it anymore and I just decided to move.
Would you say your mom's passing hit you this hard? First of all, perhaps because she's a mom, you know, like there is no person like a mother in, you know, anybody's life really. Or because you were more mature and you were able to comprehend what was happening, unlike, you know, the 2 losses that happened at 8 and 9. Or perhaps because you had time with her, you know what I mean? So like she had been there, you had grown close to her, you had a relationship. So I really just want to figure out whether, and with that, I think it would be unfair to say, but like, I'm just wondering, was there an element of, now I'm conscious, I'm aware of what is happening, therefore it hit harder than when you were younger?
I think it did because she died under my care. And I blamed myself for it. Had I not gone to work, I would have come home to you. Had I had the money then to actually take you to a good hospital, I would have done that. But this person just left you. Please attend to this person. And yeah.
So a part of you feels like it could have also been negligence.
Yes. Because now I suffer from my phobia of hospitals. I don't go there because I'm scared I won't come back. Papa didn't come back. Mama didn't come back. I don't get sick. I get sick. I would self-treat because yeah.
The fact that, you know, before her passing that evening, Mama Urile Ntapise and of course, is that something that haunts you? Is that something that torments you? Or is it something that you're able to just let go of as, I didn't know any better?
I think people tend to say, rather people also write, as they want to share those moments with you. And apparently when your soul leaves your body, it hurts. Knowing that now, had I been there, it would have been a painful sight to see. But had I been there to at least say, this is our last moment together, because the past 3 days in Solala was patel, maybe then I would have healed maybe from it. But it eats me up every day. 5 minutes, serious. No, like 5 minutes, hell. Yeah.
Have you taken any steps to try and deal with this loss? And I will yet again say, people talk about counseling as, one of those options. Like, is that something that you've ever considered? And is it even effective, if you've considered it?
I've spoken to a lady before, and the first 3 sessions, her questions would be, how do you feel? Or why are you guilty? And the more she would ask, the more it would eat me up. And you're asking me something I can't even answer.
I want you to try and make me feel better.
Yeah, so I just stopped and blocked it again.
And what are your coping mechanisms?
My daughter.
We're getting to the good part.
My daughter, I remember after Mama's passing, I became rebellious. I was drinking. I was always drinking because I felt I want to numb this pain. I was always out. But then one day, because I guess he did, and I passed out, a friend of mine called the father of my child. Hey, me GP. Me go Dr. Martinez. He looked at me and said, "You're pregnant." What?
That's what the doctors, tells you.
What do you mean? We haven't tested singing on our head. What do you mean I'm pregnant? But no, come and see. We'll get a test, but come and see. So I go on the bed. There's a dot. Do you see that dot?
Like this is him scanning you.
Emma, this is a dot. King, you're pregnant, and it's a girl. I'm like, no way. I can't be.
Oh my goodness. So it was that far in already.
I was like 3 months in. So I'm wondering, God, I said, restore me. Passing with system panka. So you give me a child? I don't even have money. What do you mean? I don't know what to do. But yeah, my daughter she's that thing that I needed to forgive myself. Because like I'm saying, Mama's passing ate me up. So I think I needed her to just show me that you can't always blame yourself for things that were beyond you. And it's not your fault. Your life is this way. And when I look at it now, it was a test. I would have probably been too spoiled. But now, because I've endured, I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to love.
Yeah.
Now I know what it's like to have someone look up to you.
Yeah.
So again, this is how my mother felt. Like I need to put that away and raise this little person. And that's what she did.
Wow. That's deeply profound. And I think it really speaks to God's restoration, like you're saying. And you fast forwarded us through it, right? I want you to take us back to, because here you are saying now you're in shock, pregnant 3 months in. What was the pregnancy like? Is this something that happened overnight? The realization, this is the restoration. I can think, heal me, give me reason to keep going. Was this something that was it an aha moment in your pregnancy? Or is it something that happened gradually over time? So I really just want you to take us through the process.
Because I was expecting money, a job, scholarship, something.
Hey, when you restore me, you can give me reason to.
I'm not thinking you're gonna give me a whole person. Why? So the pregnancy I was in denial. I was far along, but I was in so much denial because I would touch my bump, press it, because I'm pregnant. With the government hospital and everything's okay. The baby's fine. What baby? There's no bump. 7 months in, I'm still not showing. I could feel mini cramps, mini movements, but what's going on? Where is this person you're talking about? Then one day I woke up with a big bump. I'm like, oh, so here we are. Okay.
She decided to show up.
Yeah, where have you been? But my journey was, my aha moment came when I found out it's a girl. Because I've always known I want kids, but I've never been sure if I want a boy child because I don't know how I'll do it. But with a girl child, I could do what I know.
Yeah.
So when I found out, that was a gift to myself. So I went and I found out it was a girl, and I was restored. I was initially going to call her Agorogile, meaning Masego a Modimo Agorogile. But then when she came here, I just got a name out of nowhere. Like, no, I'm going to name you after my mother because you're the light that I needed after her passing. So I named her after my mom.
And what name is that?
Tashia. Tashia is from Tapelo, Tha, from Tapelo, then CIA from Lucretia, then it's Tashia.
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful name.
Yeah.
So significant. Take us back to the day, she was born. What was that experience like? Of course, I can imagine, was it even a natural delivery? Like, what did that feel like? Yeah.
My baby was late because, I don't know, for some weird reason she was late. So, Bekia, clinic Kolobat, you're late. We need to induce labor. I can tell how the first thing you go to is Google. I've seen what induction looks like. I'm like, nope. Okay, let's no, that's a big, like I'm hand. The bacon work like paramedics.
You left. You're like,
I'm like, nope, I'm not doing this. So that very night, because I think I was in too much shock, I started feeling cramps and what's going on? I keep on going to the toilet. There was a point I just sat on the seat, pants down, feet on the wall, on the door. If it comes, I'll just let it go because this business of going up and down, I can't do that. So Saturday morning, I told Rakhadi, and I'm feeling minor cramps. She's panicking. Whoa, what's going on? It's just my narubutuk. I go to the hospital. I'm not dilating. I'm still 1 centimeter. Okay, it's not that deep. I gave birth on a Sunday morning. It was raining and it was a natural birth.
Oh,
yeah.
And seeing her for the first time, like, did that feel like magical, like, or was it so this person is mine?
Because is she breathing? Why are you sleeping so much? Please, are you with me? Because I think most hospitals to stop the spread of TB, whatnot. They save the mother and child. So those experiences on their work, hey, and it was so scary because I, even when giving birth, because I kept dozing because I was tired. So
you didn't want to doze off.
Yeah. So when I made it out, I was like, okay. Who made it out? And the baby is alive. She's pink. But why are you so pink? Why are you so tiny? What's going on? Why are you sleeping so much? So yeah.
What has raising her been like?
It's hard because I'm a young mom. But I think I have people around me that help me raise her. But I'm proud of myself because I'm doing it my way, which I'm not going to blame anybody for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to take full accountability for whatever kind of person she becomes. I'm a black parent. I don't gentle parent. I do it sometimes, but I'm a black parent. But she gets me. She's my best friend. She's what I needed.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about her personality. Like, who is she? You know what I mean? Seeing her become her own person, how has that been? Yeah.
My daughter is different from me. She's somewhat a replica of my mother. She's a love bubble. Has and how like, hi! Oh my God. How is it? But yeah, you're already loud.
Yeah.
She would want to hug you. She would want to tell you about how she lost her tooth. She calls all my friends. She's unloyal though. Each and every aunt is her best aunt. But how well you're my best. How well you're my best. But she's a loving baby. She's I don't know. Yeah, she's that. Seeing her grow up now because she's more independent and she talks back, it's hard. But Mama, when are we closing? Am I on Wednesday? But I'm tired. So that's just who she has become. She's become her own person. And I'm wondering,
You know?
But I don't know, Mama, I'm tired. Can I have like, who teaches you these things? Because so yeah.
And have you spoken to her about grief? Does she, know there was a grandma before and tatamogolo before, a brother before? I know she's young, but I'm just wondering whether these are things that you've ever thought of, introducing to her or having a conversation with her about. Yeah.
Yeah and no. She doesn't know of my father. She doesn't know of my brother. But she knows of my mother. Sometimes she'd ask questions like, Mama, why didn't you have a mother? And I'll tell her, she doesn't have one. She died. Yes. How do you know she doesn't have it? And not way. Hell, I can remember there's hell. I don't know. Please, I don't know. And sometimes it pinches. Sometimes it makes me happy. There's a time where my partner and I went to see my mother's grave, and I told her, I'm going to see my mother's grave. Do you know where my mother went? She went to see her mother, and she's very excited to see her mother. Okay. So she knows that I don't have a mother, but I don't think she understands rather what it means not to have a mother.
Yeah.
So now, because she's seen pictures in the house, she knows this is my mother's mother. Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
What is your greatest wish for her, as you raise her? Like, what is your dream for her? What do you want to see? What are you hoping for?
One, I hope I make it to her graduation, her wedding, her grandkids, not kids, grandkids. That's just how far I want to go. But I want her, she's a bullet, she's smart, she's outspoken, she knows directions. Like, are you not 6? How did we get here? So I would actually love to see her be the best version of herself. Whatever that is to her, that's fine. Whatever she wants to be, she can be that. And I'm going to be a better parent to her. Not that I didn't have the best, but a better, greater version than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what is your greatest fear? If at all you have a fear,
I have 2 actually. My worst fear is me passing on. Because I want her to know what it's like to have a mother till you've reached certain milestones. I worked myself up. Tragedy was there, but I think it would have meant a lot. I'm hopefully going to get married. Who's going to walk me down the aisle? So I just hope it's different for her. Yeah.
And if you were to get, and I'm not trying to torture you, right? But if you were to get a moment to say one last thing to your brother, what would it be?
I don't know, because I'm not ready to say forgive him. I haven't taken myself back there. But maybe eventually I'm going to want to forgive him, because it's hurting me high. He doesn't feel what I feel. He probably sees me from wherever he is, but I feel at some point, it's done. I mean, today it's 19 years. I need to just say, fine, it's done.
That as well.
Yeah.
And your dad?
My dad, really, I don't know. My father loved me so much, and I'm grateful. I had that. I remember I had a conversation with someone recently, and bana barona 90s don't tend to appreciate the kind of settings they have. My parents were like this. I'm the first person to say I'm privileged. I had a very beautiful childhood. My parents made sure of that. So for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah. And your mom?
And my mom, it's an apology actually, that she had to endure that on her own. Yeah, had I been there, it would have been a different experience.
Yeah. You wish you had been there. And is there anything that you could say you've taken away from these experiences, these really hard, heavy, difficult experiences that you've had? Supposing somebody is going through something similar and you had to extend, whether it's grace, empathy advice to them, what would you say you've taken from this that you can extend to the next person?
Firstly, I'm personally grateful that God chose me for the experiences I've endured. It could have been another person, and maybe that person would have been strong enough to come this far. Maybe that person would have found the quick way out, or whatever they would have decided. But I'm grateful that God has put me through so much, yet has helped me through so much yet again. That's number one. Number two, it's okay to share. Whoever is willing to, people use stuff against us, hey? I'll tell you, Hannah, this is what happened. Come and you bring it on my face. People tend to do that. And now I always say, it's okay to talk to a stranger. It's okay. But don't let it weigh you down. You need to talk. If counseling works for you, therapy works for you, do it. If talking to your partner, friend does it for you, do it. I used to talk to my daughter when I was pregnant because so I used to rub my bump and tell her, I pray you listen to me. I pray you are healthy. I pray you are this and that. So now, because she might hear me actually, I pray about it. I would say, God, I don't know what to do. It's hard. I don't know who to turn to. But you know what I'm enduring. Strengthen me and teach me that I need to know that your timing is your timing. I might want that thing now. I need it now. But because that's how I do things. Yeah.
And would you say you allow yourself to feel, you know what I mean? Supposing you get, bouts of, moments where you feel pain, you know what I mean? Whether it's from the loss of your mom or whatever, like the grief that you've undergone all these, like, over the years. Do you allow yourself to feel, considering that you're a mother, you know what I mean? Like, one thing that you mentioned is you experienced your mom's grief through sleeping with her. She would cry at night and abarapela. Is your daughter exposed to that side of you? Does she know you can feel pain?
I've learned to protect my child. I don't want her to see me vulnerable, because she's a sweet baby. She's probably going to cry with me. Someone recently said to me, you block so much and it's not good for you. I would have a fight with people in my life and I would just ghost you because I don't want you to hurt me like that. But then recently I've just figured it's selfish. It's selfish not to tell you what you did to me. It's selfish not to tell the next person how I felt. Now I'm at a point where, yes, I feel, but I don't let it break me. Because I let it pinch. When it pinches, I'm like, oops, it hurts. And I'm not going to let it.
But you don't allow yourself to sit in it.
Yeah.
For the sake of your daughter.
And for peace.
And for peace.
Yeah.
Dalu, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your experience, your, experience with grief, having lost 3 of the closest people to you when you were 8, 9, and 18. I know it couldn't have been easy, but thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for, the act of service, towards humanity. I keep saying sharing our story is really one of the greatest acts of service, to humanity, because you don't owe anybody your story, but through you sharing your story, you may find that somebody else finds healing, or at least healing is ignited in them through just hearing your story. So I just want to say thank you so much for that. And I wish you, you continue to find your healing. I hope you continue to find, your peace and your, love, and you're able to live a full life in spite of the fact that loss and anything can happen. I wish you all the best in your journey as a mother as well, in your motherhood journey. Do you plan on having more kids?
Oh my God, wait.
You don't even want to have that
conversation. Kids are expensive.
Like, no.
Kids are expensive. No way. And kids talk back. It's not nice.
So sharp. Right now you're just enjoying where you are, taking every day as it comes, yeah.
I want 4 kids. Maybe before I reach 30. If it's not happening, then oops, no more.
Oh,
if I miss 30, I'm not having any.
Yeah. No, but once again, thank you so much for doing this, and all the best, for all your future endeavors. And may God continue to carry you and heal your beautiful heart. And once again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
And yeah, there you have it. Tough conversations, but very necessary conversations, that you continue to have here on High Life Conversations. What are your thoughts? Please make sure to comment, make sure to share your experiences, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's meet again, the next episode.